Welcome to CarePro Worksite Wellness's presentation on Don't Mess with Stress. In this presentation, we'll look at acute versus chronic stress, work versus home stress, the impact stress has on our bodies, how we identify what type of stress we're feeling, and how to deal with it. Stress can influence our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. Recognizing the symptoms of stress is the first step in being able to properly manage it. Unmanaged stress can have several health consequences, contributing to high blood pressure, diabetes, obesity, heart disease, and more. If we don't control our stress, it will control us. It's important, though, to distinguish between acute and chronic stress, as they have different effects on our bodies. Acute stress is a result of something that happens suddenly and is often short-lived, such as being stuck in traffic or preparing for an interview. Chronic stress may be caused by a sudden event, but it's often prolonged and due to things like marital problems, loss of a loved one, or other serious life events. Stress can affect us physically, mentally, emotionally, intellectually, and even socially. The physical effects of stress alone are astronomical and worth paying attention to. Acute stress causes our muscles to tighten up all at once. When the acute stressor lessens, so do our muscles. But chronic stress triggers constant muscle tightening that can lead to headaches, migraines, and chronic pain in the neck and shoulders. Stress causes us to breathe harder and faster. Breathing becomes increasingly difficult under these circumstances for people who have asthma or lung disease. Hyperventilation, or the act of breathing rapidly, is a common result of acute stressors and can result in a panic attack. Acute stress causes an increased heart rate and an elevation of blood pressure, commonly known as fight or flight response. This is our body's normal reaction to stress, and it's not damaging if short-lived. Chronic stress, however, can result in a consistent ongoing increase in heart rate and blood pressure, which increases our risk of developing hypertension, heart attack, and stroke. Stress also has a negative effect on our digestive system, nervous system, endocrine system, and reproductive system. Be proactive and experimental with different relaxation and stress management techniques so you can alleviate the effects of stress on your body. By practicing stress management techniques prior to being faced with it, we can keep stress from becoming a threat to our health and well-being. Practice and use the 4 A's, which are avoid, alter, accept, and adapt. Avoid. We usually can't eliminate stressors altogether, but we can be proactive about avoiding them. For example, prioritizing your time by leaving 15 minutes earlier to avoid the stress of traffic or being late. Next is alter. Assess a potentially or historically stressful situation and attempt to change it. Effective communication plays a huge role in this process. If someone is contributing to your stress, let the person responsible know in a calm and professional manner to avoid it from happening in the future. Accept. Unfortunately, there are certain stressors in our lives that are out of our control. Instead of letting them affect our mood, behaviors, and even relationships, try to accept them. Self-forgiveness is an important part of this, as is recognizing a teachable moment. If you can't change it, what can you learn from it, and how can you be better because of it? Finally, adapt. Sometimes believing that we can't cope with something is more stressful than the event itself. Changing our standards and expectations can help eliminate this misperception. Reframe your brain into the positive side of a difficult situation. Look at the bigger picture. Will this matter in 5 years? Usually the answer is no. Under the right circumstances, stress can be beneficial and actually help us perform better. Good stress, or eustress, tends to be motivating and gives us a feeling of control, whereas bad stress leaves us feeling helpless and out of control. Studies show that brief bouts of stress enhance our learning and brain functioning, and it doesn't do any damage to our bodies. Eustress can occur on a daily basis during moments when a certain amount of motivation is needed, such as deadlines at work, packing for a big trip, or preparing a speech. What's important about stress is recognizing when it's beneficial and when it's not. The image on the slide outlines the progression of stress that we experience and how it can quickly go from enhancing our performance to overwhelming us with exhaustion and panic. It's up to you as the individual to be able to identify when stress is affecting you positively or negatively. Once you start to feel worn out and unenthusiastic about a given situation, it's important to be proactive in properly managing these symptoms. Simplifying is one way to reduce stress. This doesn't necessarily mean doing without things, but rather to slow down and live without the distractions of this extra stuff. Material possessions might give us temporary satisfaction, but they complicate our lives more than we ever like to acknowledge. Imagine if we put the time, energy, attention, and money that we put into accumulating more stuff and put it towards relationships and activities that we truly value. Summer is a great time to declutter or even have a yard sale. Commitments are yet another thing that we tend to accumulate. Before we know it, our day is full of different time commitments, only a portion of which is important to us. Before saying yes to another commitment, assess whether it takes priority and if it's in line with your values. It's no secret that debt of any kind can take a toll on our minds and bodies. It can easily influence every decision that we make. Instead of continuing to let your debt hold you captive, be proactive. Consolidate your loans, sacrifice everyday luxuries, and create a budget. But none of this has to be done alone. Seek professional help or even the help of a close friend or family member to hold you accountable to your financial goals. If you have been somewhere physically but felt checked out mentally, you've been a victim of presenteeism. Whether you've experienced presenteeism at work or at home, it should be no surprise that stress is a large contributor. 15% of employees say that they've missed work due to stress. Loss of productivity happens when people are gone, but even more when people come to work and perform poorly because of stress-induced distractions. From a financial perspective, presenteeism costs employers 10 times more than absenteeism. Regardless of the origin of the stressors that cause this lack of productivity, individuals and companies alike are taking a hit. Avoid self-inflicted stress by staying organized and practicing effective time management. Recognizing when stress is helping or hindering you in the workplace will help determine when the appropriate response is required. Leaving work at work and home at home is somewhat unrealistic. Many of us bring our work home with us in the form of physical papers or the mental anxiety of something unresolved. And at work, we're often thinking of and missing our families. So instead, try aiming for a work-life harmony. As much as we try to hide feelings of distress from work at home, our behavior speaks for itself, and it doesn't do any good to avoid talking about it. Communicate with the people you love and explain why you're feeling stress. This can reduce misunderstandings and displaced frustration. Venting about a stressful event can give us the opportunity to sort our thoughts out loud and to make sense of the situation. It can be equally as effective to vent to yourself in a journal without the risk of passing on negative thoughts or feelings to others. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to answer the survey questions and turn your challenge in for the month of July. If you have any questions, contact CarePro Worksite Wellness. We are here for you.